All right. Well, hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining SCOMathon and joining our session today on DevOps, migration, and more. I guess first of all, a big thank you to Squared Up, Cookdown, the other organizers of the event. There's a lot of work involved in putting together these types of events, and certainly a big shout out to the organizers and the other sponsors of SCOMathon. Yeah, great to be here. These types of events are, I think, really meaningful and really helpful for the community. And the SCOM community, I think, is a pretty close-knit community, and we're happy to help out as much as we can. And really great to see the contributions to the Girls Who Code charity. I think it's a great cause. I'll be honest, I didn't know a whole lot about it before the event, and I did a little bit of research. It looks bang on in terms of really helping a great cause, and we're pleased to make a contribution to that as well. So on to our session on DevOps, migration, and more. We're going to first start out by just sharing some news about sort of what we've been up to over the course of the winter. You know, the winters up here in Canada, especially in central eastern Canada, can be long and dark. So we tend to do some of our best work throughout the winter. And typically in the spring, we've got some great new things to release and to talk about. And I'll be sharing some news on a bunch of product updates with you in just a minute. But we're really going to then drill down on DevOps. And we've seen earlier in some of the discussions, some of the slides, the importance of DevOps. A lot of organizations are moving more towards a DevOps type of mindset in terms of rolling out applications and creating a more of a shared responsibility for operations. And so we're going to talk about that in the context of SCOM and in the context of how you can roll out that methodology within a SCOM infrastructure. And then we'll also talk about migration. Migration is something we all have to deal with at some point in time. And especially now with all the talk about SCOM, MI, and even Azure, migration is going to be top of mind, I think, for many of us. And so we'll spend a little bit of time on that. And I plan to spend most of my time on demos. In some cases, we're demoing some pre-release software, so there can always be some interesting dynamics when that happens. So let's go ahead and talk about what we've been working on. And today I'm pleased to announce the new version 11.2 release of MP Studio. We've really invested a lot into the new migration assistant. So previously the migration assistant was just management packs and overrides, which are extremely important when you're doing a side-by-side migration. But we've dramatically improved and expanded the coverage of things that we can migrate when you're doing a side-by-side migration. And I'll show you that new migration assistant towards the end of today's session. We've also improved fragment handling. We've improved our comparison engine so you get more meaningful change history and audit history reports for your management packs. And we've also improved the way we handle roles within MP Studio, which is really important as we talk about DevOps and sharing that responsibility. Roles become very, very important to define and to ensure the right granularity of permissions is provided through custom roles. We've updated our dashboards. So we have a set of Power BI dashboards for SCOM. We've updated dashboards to fully support SCOM 2022 as well as SCOM MI. The portal is a new release of the portal is coming shortly. We've improved the authoring experience. We have added notifications, so users can now self-manage their notifications and their subscriptions, and I'll be showing you that as well. And again, implemented custom roles management, maintenance schedules are there, etc. We have also added a new fragment for HTTP, and that's something that we'll be sharing up if you visit our the website there at the bottom. We'll be making that fragment available for download there, which allows you to monitor HTTP response times. And lastly, but not least, we're including an MP Author Pro subscription with our training course. So it's been a very busy winter for us. But let's get on to the topic at hand, DevOps. I mean, DevOps is really, in my mind, it's about getting application development teams involved in operations. And, simply put, it's sort of a shift left type of mentality where operations becomes more of a shared responsibility within an organization. And while DevOps is mostly an organizational shift, it involves a lot of changes in processes and in procedures, potentially in personnel as well. It does require technology to enable that shift. And within the SCOM environment, that can be at times a bit of a challenge. And so, we're going to talk about how we can potentially ease that shift to DevOps for those of you running SCOM. And we're seeing it a lot. We're hearing it a lot from customers about DevOps, and certainly as it comes around to application modernization, if applications are being redeveloped for the cloud, DevOps is clearly a very prevalent initiative within those organizations. And the goals, I think, are pretty clear in terms of why adopt this DevOps type of mindset. Ultimately, it enables quicker delivery of new applications and services. If you have developers that are responsible for the operations of their applications, they tend to understand better how to measure the health of the application as well as how to fix it when there are problems. And at the end of the day, it's more about, it's really about efficient applications and enabling more agile organizations so things can get deployed more quickly, services can be rolled out to customers more quickly, and it can be done in a very efficient manner. When we started talking to customers a little while ago about DevOps and really looking at what developers needed when deploying, say, a new application into a SCOM environment, it really came down to simplicity. And that's something that I think we all understand as users of SCOM. People that are developers and people potentially that are new to SCOM, they're not going to be experts. They're not going to understand necessarily everything that SCOM has to offer. So we really look to provide an on-ramp for not only for developers in the context of DevOps, but also for other business groups. Provide an easy on-ramp to SCOM and make it simpler for them to with the capabilities of SCOM. And developers, essentially there's requirements to discover applications, to monitor the application, to get notified when there's a problem with the application. But at the same time, IT needs to scope their activities. You don't just want to give, free rein to groups for the entire infrastructure. You need to scope their activities. And so today we're introducing a major update to our self-service portal. It includes a fully automated backend where you can interface through a REST API. We've updated our operational dashboards. I mentioned earlier about the additional roles support. And we've also introduced concurrent licensing to ease the adoption. And so as more users potentially get engaged with SCOM, we make it easier for you to consume our licenses to enable some of these things. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at a demo. And move over to my Silect operations portal. And basically the scenario that I'm going to be covering off is Silect. As developers of the portal, we want to write a management pack to monitor the portal. So we're going to use the portal to monitor the portal. I'm going to log in as a developer, and so this is a restricted user. And so within the portal, I have a bunch of different options that are available to me. Again, we can scale back these permissions if necessary. But what I'm going to start with is creating a new management pack. And new MP, we're going to store it in our MP store database. And what that allows is full version control and audit history associated with that management pack. And as you see here, we provide a fragment-based authoring experience within the portal. So all the work that you do, any rules, monitors, discoveries, et cetera, that you add through the portal, we use fragments to do that. And as you can see here, I've got some fragments up here with some friendly names. As you scroll down, I can see a whole bunch of Kevin Holman's fragments, as well as fragments from other members of the community. I'm going to select a very, very simple fragment, which is going to discover the portal application using a registry key. I'm going to provide the parameters of the fragment. I know we have a registry key called software, and let's just call this SOP. So a couple of simple parameters to help me identify the application. This fragment is going to create a class and a discovery for the portal. So after it's been discovered, the next thing I want to do is monitor the service so that the portal runs as a Windows service. So the next thing I want to do is find a fragment related to monitoring a service, Kevin Holman has produced a number of great fragments, including this one, which is monitoring a service with an alert. So again, the application is portal. We're going to target this at instances of that class that we just created. The service name itself, the executable, and we'll just give this the name for the class, or sorry, for the monitor. So adding that monitor, you can see it here displayed on the screen. We add anything else that is necessary for that monitor, we'll include in that. From this view, by the way, I can remove elements, I can edit the elements. But the last thing I want to do before we deploy this management pack is add some form of observability. I want to be able to really check the user experience when interacting with the portal. And so what I'm going to do is choose this new HTTP monitor that we just developed and are making available today at SCOM-a-thon. And this is going to measure HTTP requests to our portal service. So I'm going to target that at the class. So this is the error threshold. So this is the time in milliseconds where we expect to get a response back from this URI. Portal, and we're on port 5000. Warning level threshold, let's just set that at 2000. And it's called the Silect portal. You see when I add this fragment, you'll see a number of new elements be added to this management pack, including monitors, rules, some additional resources, etc.
Harold, I'm very sorry to interrupt you. I don't mean to interrupt your presentation, but you should know you're only sharing your PowerPoint slide. I actually haven't been able to see your screen that you've been sharing.
Oh. Hold on a second. Let's backtrack here. I've been showing the portal all along here. Unfortunately, it wasn't shared up on the screen, which is, let's see why it's doing that. How was that?
Better. There we go. Yep, okay. I can see that now. Thank you.
Well, sorry for that. Yeah, so I've been showing the portal all along, showing the authoring experience with the portal, and unfortunately missed some of that authoring. But basically, coming to this point, I've been importing fragments, I've been adding discoveries, monitors, and I've added the new HTTP fragment, which includes observability for my website. So I built a new management pack, and now that I've completed basically the elements that I need to monitor my new portal, I'm going to go ahead and deploy that. I have permissions to deploy this management pack. So let's go into my folder where I've stored the management pack. We can go ahead and deploy that out to SCOM. Now, this can certainly, this could also be a, deploy this out to a dev environment as well. But if I have permissions, I'm able to deploy this directly out to my SCOM infrastructure, at which point it'll start the discovery process and start monitoring the application. Now, I've already done that. We all know SCOM can take a few minutes to get a management pack working and get the discovery working, etc. So let's just jump over to the SCOM console where I can see a management pack that we did the same process earlier. We deployed it out to our environment. I can see some of the data that is being collected by that. And so I can see if I had any alerts, they would get surfaced up in the alerts view. And here we've added a performance rule view where I can see the HTTP response times for the portal. So that's a pretty simple example of using the portal to be able to deliver a DevOps capability, allowing an application team to build their own management pack, deploy it out to SCOM, and be able to begin to look at the effectiveness of their application, monitor the response times, alerts, etc. I'm going to go back to my slides and maybe just make sure that my slides are being shared. Looks like they are. And so the last thing I want to do just before we end today's session is show you the new SCOM Migration Assistant. So again, this is something that we've spent a fair bit of time this past winter developing new capabilities for the SCOM Migration Assistant to enable side-by-side migrations. And clearly, anyone considering SCOM MI, that will be a side-by-side migration. The Migration Assistant is included in MP Studio version 11.2. And Previously, we supported management packs and overrides. We've now expanded that to include user roles and permissions, run as configurations. We have a number of SCOM configuration settings that we are able to migrate, maintenance schedules, as well as agents. So let's take a real quick look at what that looks like. And again, I just want to make sure this is actually getting shared up properly. And looks like it is. So let's go over to our MP Studio console. Let's select the migration assistant. We're going to get an introductory screen showing us at a high level what we can migrate. The first question is going to be, what management group do we want to migrate from? So we support any upward level migration or any parallel level migration. So I can go from a 2019 environment to another 2019 environment if necessary. Perhaps I want to sort of mirror a dev environment to a prod environment. We have limited, we do support 2012 in our testing. It's, I don't think that's supported anymore by Microsoft, but our tests have proven that to be effective. So I'm going to, in this scenario, I'm going to go from SCOM 2019 to SCOM MI. I'm going to choose each of these options just to show you what that's going to look like. So let's go ahead and choose the run as configurations. I'm going to skip data warehouse because there's really not much we can do. We don't go directly to the database. So we do provide some information there, but nothing in terms of actual migration. So the first thing the assistant's going to do is going to be analyze the management packs that don't require migration. So we have a number of MPs that already exist in the destination group. So these would be presumably inbox MPs. We also have a number of management packs where the same version exists in both management groups, and therefore we don't need to migrate those either. For MPs that need to be migrated or can be migrated, I should see there's a bunch of sealed MPs. I'm just going to choose them all, and there's some unsealed MPs that we're going to select. Next, any custom user roles that we've defined in our source, we can migrate those as well. Run as configurations, we have some associated with the M365 and management pack, so we'll migrate those. Some custom resolutions. There are a limited number of settings that we can include. We publish them all here and show you the ones that we can't be migrated. I do have some customized grooming settings that we can migrate. Custom resource pool related to the M365 pack. Maintenance schedules can be migrated as well, so I can choose one or more maintenance schedules. And last but not least is agent selection. Now, we don't actually migrate the agents. What we do is multi-home them to the new destination management group. And because agent migration or adding new agents in bulk to SCOM can sometimes be problematic, we do provide you with some ways of throttling the how quickly those agents get added to SCOM to make sure that we don't cause any problems in the SCOM environment. Once you're all finished, you'll get a summary screen showing you what to migrate. And the migration can take a while. There's a lot of things that do need to get moved across. And so if we go back to our presentation, this is what it would look like upon completion of that migration assistant. You'll be able to see and get a report on what was successfully migrated across and if there are any problems with the migration. So again, that capability is in MP Studio version 11.2, and it's something that is designed to provide you with help with SCOM side-by-side migrations. Clearly, this is a tool, it's a technology, it doesn't provide you with the whole story in terms of some of the other things, maybe some of the organizational things or other infrastructure things that you may need to do to properly migrate, and that's why people like SCOM Bob, as an example from TopCore, engaging services of experts like that is also very helpful in terms of any migration work you do. And so just the last thing I'm going to mention is we've been also busy at work with some things around Azure and Azure Monitor specifically. And now migration to Azure Monitor it's not really migration, it's more modernization in terms of Azure Monitor. But if you're looking to leverage some of the Azure services, either with data collected by SCOM, or potentially you're looking to use Azure to collect some of the data that SCOM does today, and Azure doing it directly, support is on the way, help is on the way. And that's something that we'll be talking about probably in a couple of weeks from now. We'll be able to share some more information on that. And so with that said, I'm looking at the time. I think my time is up. I will certainly be here to answer any questions you may have, and I would like to thank you for your time today.